cloud participants. No.
So good afternoon, everyone. This is Audrey Russo, and I am here with business as usual. I believe in our 18th week, and it's a Thursday. I always have to say that out loud because I never remember. And I'm thrilled to be here today. Once again, we have great guests, and I'm going to introduce them in a few moments, but I want to just set the table really quick. Shout out to Sheets, Deloitte, and Huntington for being our sponsors and making sure that we can provide access to everyone in the community in doing this work. And if you don't know the work that they're doing, you really should. With all the small business loans that have been going on, Huntington has been a leader in our region. Deloitte is active in our community. They are engaged in most Fortune 500 companies, as well as the work that they're doing in innovation. And Sheets, while many of you know Sheets, you should also know that they have an innovation center right here in Pittsburgh and have expanded their reach and focus in terms of the next iteration of Sheets. So thank you for sponsors, get to know them. We've also muted everyone. So we've muted you on purpose because we don't want to hear what's in your background, and hopefully that'll be the same for me. My dogs have been running amok. But we also have a chat, and the chat will give you an opportunity to ask these fine men the questions that you might have, because they're really gonna pack it in. So we have Bayer Radiology here with us, and they are gonna set the table. I am just really gonna introduce them one by one and ask them a question, and we'll just run in sequence. So today we have three leaders from Bayer. They're gonna talk about how they've pivoted from an R&D, manufacturing and operations perspective, and what's happening with them in terms of COVID. So I am actually gonna start with Dennis Durmis. And if you could describe your role and maybe start with just describing your business unit to our members. And then many of us know Bayer well from afar, but many of us really don't know what's happening behind the scenes. So Denny, thank you for being with us. And tell us a little bit about your role and yourself.
Absolutely. So happy to be here and appreciate the opportunity to talk about our business, which we think is certainly exciting and kind of critical when you think about the healthcare environment we're in today. So we have a long history, dates back over 50 years with the invention of the first power injector to support cardiovascular imaging procedures under the name MedRad. So many of you may remember the name MedRad, which was prevalent, and we're part of the Bayer organization now through a couple different acquisitions. But the underlying vascular injectors that MedRad designed and built and continue to manufacture in Pittsburgh is still out there, and the global headquarters for our radiology device research and development activities is still Pittsburgh. Our heritage of leadership in imaging continues today, with our Bayer Radiology products that support imaging procedures really in over 95% of hospitals in the U.S. So we have a very strong presence across the U.S. The products we make locally to support radiologists and healthcare professionals to make diagnosis and guide treatment decisions across different health conditions and chronic diseases. So our portfolio includes medical devices, contrast media, radiology software, equipment, service, and really across a broad range of imaging modalities that include computed tomography, magnetic resonance, molecular imaging, interventional, and angiography. So kind of gives you a flavor for the product portfolio that we have.
Did you have to make some rapid changes over these last few months?
So we have in a whole bunch of different areas. So I know that Jeff and Bipin will talk a little bit about their particular areas. For my particular area, we have sales professionals and service engineers that are out in the field and supporting customers on site. So one of the things we quickly did was basically halt, in the interest of protecting our employees, was halt them making face-to-face calls with customers and start leveraging virtual technologies like Zoom, like Microsoft Teams and others. The second thing we had to do was really think about how we serve our customers with regards to keeping their equipment up and running in a hospital. So these are used in as you would get a diagnostic procedure. And, we do preventative maintenance on those pieces of equipment on an annual basis. We also provide emergency service. So if one of the pieces of equipment isn't working properly. So it really started to get complex when you think about, how do you dispatch an employee into an area, not only a geography that may have a strong COVID presence, but into a hospital who's treating those types of patients. So, we took a lot of time with regards to how we engage customers. So number one, we needed to ask them if it was an area of criticality, do they still want us to come? If not, we could delay and postpone maybe the preventive maintenance procedure. If they did want us to come on site, we had to really change the way we handled our personal protective equipment. So some of the pieces that we had in the past aren't the same ones that are used today. So making sure that they had some gowns, some proper masks, face shields, and the like. And we had to act quickly to, obviously, just like everybody else, kind of gather those materials, centralize that, and then send those out to those employees who are out there actually still on the street, working to support hospitals and make sure that patients get the diagnostic procedures that they need.
Great. You've done a lot in the community. And is there anything else that you want to give a shout out in terms of your community work during this time?
Yeah, so the one thing I didn't mention is that we do have a relatively strong strong presence with respect to the number of employees we have in the Pittsburgh area. So we do have 1,300 employees, and we believe that that the community is obviously an important part of who we are and what we do. So so some of the things that we've done around supporting the community is we have a committee of employees that are identified not-for-profit organizations in the region to support COVID-related needs of the community. So local charitable contribution funds were utilized to support these organizations. We provided personal protective equipment to healthcare facilities, food to students whose schools had closed with no provision for daily lunches. We made some large donations to the Pittsburgh Food Bank. So $100,000 went to the Pittsburgh Food Bank on behalf of Bayer. And we also put $100,000 towards the Poise Foundation to support critical community needs funds. So, so we've done a lot of things to try to support the community and help people get through this time of crisis.
Well, thank you. So Jenny, don't go away, but I'm gonna roll over and introduce Bipin. Hello, Bipin. This is Bipin Salunkhe. I hope I'm saying that correctly, and I've said it 3 times and he's still gonna laugh at me, but he's a wonderful man who's gonna join us right now. And welcome and thank you for joining us, Bipin. Can you start by just talking about your role and
Sure.
How you've evolved?
Thank you, Adra. It's a great privilege to be here. I lead the R&D activities for Bayer Radiology Devices business. Our Indianola site here in Pittsburgh is our global headquarters for the research and development activities. We have more than 250 employees in Device R&D, and we are involved in all sorts of development, research, testing activities. And not being on the premises is a challenge for us, and I'm happy to talk more about it.
Yeah, can you talk about that? Thank you.
Sure. So the first question it would be around how are we evolving ourselves in the COVID situation? And if I look at R&D, it's about 3 things. R&D is about people, R&D is about product, and R&D about processes. And when we saw about people, we are a pretty young organization. And when we started working in the COVID situation, we immediately realized that everybody's needs are a bit different. Family situation is a bit different. So even though we try to keep normalcy, we also injected reality that how we need to work is going to be different than how we used to work. So we provided a lot of flexibility, a lot of support, mentoring. And in first week or 2, we did a quick survey to see what is the current situation, how things are working. Based on that, we made some improvements, some corrections, and we followed with 1 more round of survey just to make sure the things are going well. And I'm happy to report that we are now past 100 days, and we haven't lost a single person in our employee workforce. neither we have lost a single working day. So very happy to keep the progress. When it comes to product, after people, we are also making sure that we keep in focus with our must-win priorities, and working with our project management team, we have prioritized what are the must-win, which one we need to focus, and making sure that we have the enough people and resource allocated for those priorities. And we also looked into our 30, 60, 90 days game plan, and we define, to give example in our software organization, how can we bring some quick wins to keep the ball rolling? And we came with a slogan or theme of 9 wins in 90 days. The wins are the software medical device products, something either pilot or production, then we can go out in the field for our customer because they're waiting for us. And I'm happy to report that we are successfully delivering 8 out of those 9 wins already, and we are very much tracked to finish all 9 out of 9. And finally, on the process side, that was a big change because no one would ever thought R&D can be done remotely. So once we started working in a remote environment, we realized that many things we can do, but not all. So what we have done, essentially, we looked into our employee workforce and we divided into 4 categories: red, orange, yellow, and green. And initially we started to very carefully letting the red tagged employees to be in the office, in the labs. And now we are slowly open up orange. Of course, we are taking every possible precaution and every possible care with regard to cleaning and enough separation. And if I just want to give one example, which really stands out is, while this was going on, we had to maintain our license to operate. That means we have to ship the medical device product. That brings a lot of responsibility with regard to our audits and certification. So we had to support audit called the BSI audit, and there are 3 auditors. Usually audit brings a lot of work for us, front room as well as back room. I'm happy to report that we successfully finished this 3 days audit without any risk or any issue identified virtually. Great collaboration between across all of the functions. So it's a really good example about how we can come together.
So what is your team comprised of in terms of the talent? Talk about the skills in your R&D team.
So R&D team is pretty broad. Mostly they are engineers. So we have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, software, system, plastics, biomedical, and we work on pretty complex electromechanical and software devices.
And what about recruitment? You talked a little bit about an intern program before.
Right. So we are pretty active in Pittsburgh region with regard to bringing talent. Like I said, young families are the young workforce what we're targeting. So we are very actively working with Pitt, Carnegie Mellon, Penn State, and other schools. And every year we have very rich, well-defined internship program, co-op program, and we tend to bring a lot of engineers, and many of them, they love working with us and they end up staying working for us.
Wow, that's great. So do you have interns right now, even through
right now,
COVID?
Yes, we are having co-ops and they will be with us for next 12 to 18 months. So even though we are remote, we are making sure that we do not lose sight of our talent pipeline.
That's a lot to manage, but thank you. That's phenomenal. So I'm going to switch from Bipin right now, and we're going to go over to Jeff Owoc. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. And would you introduce yourself in terms of your role and share some of the ways that things have changed?
Yeah, sure. And again, thanks for having us here. It's a good opportunity for us to share our story with the community at large here and the business leaders within our region. I'm Jeff Owoc, Senior Vice President responsible for our medical device operations within Bayer Pharmaceuticals globally. That includes our 3 manufacturing sites that we have here in Pittsburgh. We have a site in Saxonburg. We have one in Indianola near Harmarville, and one in RIDC Park in O'Hara Township. We have approximately, not quite 1,000, but close to 1,000 employees working directly in production operations and supporting those functions. So quite a sizable footprint here in Pittsburgh. As you may have gathered in the discussions, of Denny and of Bipin, with respect to the COVID situation, so one the products that we make and manufacture here fall under the life-sustaining category, as was defined early on for the region and across the state of Pennsylvania. So it was important for us to maintain continuity of operations while keeping people safe on the site, our employees and any service providers who might have to access our sites. And as Bipin mentioned, I think thus far, the measures that we've taken have proven to be quite robust and very successful. We've maintained continuity of operations, not just for the 3 sites here, but globally across our production network, within Bayer, which when we went through the first week or two and we're figuring out how to manage this crisis, that was maybe even a state that was beyond the early expectations. So we're quite pleased to continue to report that our production sites continue to run. And I mean, and just to put things in perspective, in terms of the product lines, I mean, just the products that we produce here in Pittsburgh, I mean, based on our own estimation, and I mean, it's certainly arguable, but maybe impressive nonetheless, that we estimate every 2 seconds one of our products is being used in a diagnostic imaging procedure somewhere in the world. So quite important for us to maintain those operations so we can support the customers and those with the medical needs that rely, frankly, on our products to diagnose diseases and other conditions where further treatment could be required. In mid-March, when this pandemic really came to be, we had a global crisis team task force at the country and at the site levels addressing response plans. Our office-based employees, as was mentioned, we immediately sent them home, and we were fortunate that our IT platforms and our IT technology supported that quite well. We're actually finding it far less complex to send everyone home than actually bring them back. So I'm quite confident that others may be dealing with that same complexity here. We stopped traveling, not just internationally, but domestically and even locally between the sites. We restricted access, to the production sites. We put in a protocol for temperature screening, employee questionnaires to make sure that those entering the sites were at low risk, haven't traveled to hotspots or experienced any symptoms, and basically, if you're on site, you're distancing, you're wearing a mask around others. There's quite a number of changes within our facilities that are very apparent. I mean, in common areas, we've implemented some changes to restrict, limit capacities and make sure that people can be distanced. We're providing meals out of appreciation, but also out of safety, for the employees working on site. So we've done quite a bit from the very beginning, and very pleased to report an extremely good safety record and business continuity goals have been met.
Anything about well, I have your attention now, and we're going to go into the questions in a moment. Do you face any supply chain challenges?
I mean, it's a good question, and it's one of the things that we focused on, quite early. As you can imagine, we rely not only on our product, our production, sites, but we have numerous suppliers, that we rely on for materials to feed production. We also have to think about the outbound supply chains and getting those products from our production sites into the various countries and marketplaces, so our customers can use them. I mean, we've been really fortunate. I mean, we were quite concerned, especially early on, that some of the smaller businesses and some of those that serve other sectors that were hard hit by the pandemic may have difficulty maintaining our operations. We worked with many of them to ensure reliable supply, which I would say has largely been achieved and is basically time to a non-issue for us.
Good.
Similarly, we had to ensure that materials could flow across one access carrier routes that were not so easy in the beginning to find, and then move freely across borders where many countries were putting in heightened import and export restrictions. And we've also, I think, been pretty successful in overcoming that and making sure that we had no supply issues at all. And in fact, we've had just the opposite, and we've been able to serve the need quite well.
Wow, that's great. Well, Jonathan, there's some questions out there.
Absolutely. So let's start with Tim Nolan here. He wants to know, what is the mix of full-time interns and contract work on the R&D side of your operations?
Yeah, so we have roughly in R&D more than 225 full-time here in Indianola and around 50 contractors. And we think it's the right ratio. That gives us enough flexibility and the scalability to go up and down.
Makes sense. And what about positions like in finance and marketing and purchasing? Are those still here, or have they been moved over to St. Louis?
So maybe I can take that one. So the majority of positions that focus on the radiology business continue to be in Pittsburgh. So we have local marketing, we have finance resources that support Jeff, myself, Bipin. When we started integrating more formally into Bayer, some of the more back office functions like IT and accounting and tax moved to the Bayer Robinson facility, and those are the resources and positions that are moving more towards St. Louis. So the business of itself within radiology, the vast majority are still based in Indianola. We have some support coming out of Whippany, New Jersey as well, but the majority of our teams is what it has been for quite a while now.
Very cool. Now, you guys have had a legendary culture with Malcolm Baldrige Awards and everything over the years. How have you been able to maintain that during this pandemic? Because we know that is a tough thing to keep going.
Maybe I can jump in from the R&D side about, for us, the Malcolm Baldrige Award culture was culture of creativity, culture of excellence, and culture of empowerment. And I can give you a quick example about what we have done to maintain that. Many of our engineers, we really trusted them and empowered them. And they have taken some of the equipment in their garages, in their basements, in their kitchen, living room, where they are able to continue to develop, troubleshoot, and maintain the pace we have.
Yes.
And one interesting case we had is, as we do our development, it is extremely important for us to get the customer feedback. We call it a customer preference study. And we are designing some extremely critical, complex device piece that will be used in cath labs. And we are currently virtually streaming the customer who are trying to give their feedback by looking at our models, our simulations through virtual way. So we don't have to go to the cath lab. We don't have to go to the hospital, which is unsafe, and we cannot be welcome there. But we are able to get the feedback, improve the device design, and continue with our research. So that's, in our R&D point of view, the Malcolm Baldrige mindset.
Very cool.
This is sort of exciting, and it's wonderful to hear from all of you. A lot of times our members would like to know what could they do for you? So across the tech ecosystem, what could they do? What would you want to say, the kinds of things that you might be looking for that in terms of products or services or anything? Is there any way that you can address that?
So I can touch on one area is we continue to invest in digital transformation. So our products are interconnected with scanners in hospitals, interconnected with radiology information systems. We're continuing to look at artificial intelligence and machine learning to help streamline workflow in hospitals. So if you think about where we're headed, that's a big place where we're pivoting, at least on the commercial side and a large portion of our R&D organization as well. So, if there's any members that have some expertise in that area, certainly look to welcome some introductions and partnership there.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
So
I would echo that. I mean, maybe from the production side, I mean, we see a migration towards a much higher tech kind of production environment with manufacturing execution systems, higher degree of technology and automation and connected and digitized factories. So I would echo what Denny would say, and anyone who's interested in being more on the manufacturing side of the business or the technical operations side of a business, you know, there's plenty of room for good people, and anything that we can do to promote that pipeline and connect people with the opportunities is highly appreciated, Audrey.
That's great. That's great, because people are interested, and that's the way we build our strength. So thank you for being open. What about this impact of a new petrochemical plant in Pittsburgh? Is that going to impact your future in terms of sourcing? That's a question from Scott Harshman. Okay, no one wants to take that one.
Jeff, could you take that one?
I can take it. I'm just trying to get maybe one layer deep to understand you know, the question a little bit better. But I think in general, I mean, the resource pools from which we draw, I mean, for our technical talent, we're looking locally and nationally, in some cases internationally, to you know, to fill these roles. In terms of what I would say is the, you know, the skilled or even the manufacturing labor force, that they would be drawn from populations that are a little bit closer to our plants than, say, Beaver County. I don't know offhand how many employees from Beaver County we have, but we've not sensed that there's a lot of competition for, you know, for talent and resources with the plant that's being constructed out there. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for your candor in taking that. So, and then there's this last one from Anita. Do you provide training to promote the pipeline of talent? What she's talking about is, you know, STEM related support.
Absolutely. Rather, we being in a regulated industry, the medical devices, you know, we sometimes drive people bored with so much training that we have, but it is necessary part of our job. And we have so many different types of opportunities that we especially give to the young talent. We have something called a master series, in which we bring internal and external speakers and talk about either our within internal Bayer business and the regions and the countries and their practices for our product use, or we also sometimes get some external speakers to talk about technologies. So the talent development is a big part of, we really need smart, good engineers, of course, in R&D.
Yeah, and I'd say broadly, that's one of the, you know, one of the large positives that I think Bayer brought to you know, our legacy organization is you know, a rich training platform that we can leverage, you know, whether that's Learn to Lead for new managers, whether that's you know, executive assessment centers later on for career development. Those are some of the things that are, you know, accessible real time. I think some of the other things that we've tried to bring to bear is a continued focus on developing people through opportunity. So, you know, taking somebody who may have been a finance director and making them now a country head in Colombia for our business. We did that recently. So there is a lot of cross-functional development as well, which is, you know, more on the job. So short-term assignments, long-term assignments, and so the combination of some of the standard training platforms that Bayer has, as well as some of the, you know, maybe less traditional job swapping type opportunities, I think we continue to focus on, and creates a really good culture for development of people.
Well, it's now a little past 12:30, and I just want to give deep appreciation to Bipin, to Jeff, to Denny for being with us today and just sharing a little bit about Bayer Radiology, and the work that you're doing both during COVID and non-COVID. We are proud to have you in the community, and I thank you for being open in terms of any of our members and that want to get engaged with you in terms of some of the areas that you've articulated. We will figure out a way to make those connections, but thank you so much for being here and for the work that you're doing both in the community and actually for your own customers. So
Well,
this is Audrey Russo, joined by Jonathan Kirsting, and we will be here tomorrow at the same time. So thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.